that in every few million human beings, there might be one that actually has such a uncontrollable and serious mental condition that a mother would actually kill her children. Yeah.
Hey,
that's possible.
Mental illness happens, folks.
That does happen, and that can happen, but it's very, very rare.
Yeah,
and then think of the number in recent years of mothers who've killed their children. Mothers don't do that.
How many
mothers are nurturers. They don't kill their children unless they're in an altered state of consciousness through the use of psychotropic drugs.
How many mass shootings were there in the 1950s?
None that I can remember. Charles Starkweather, but then he went on a crime spree. That wasn't just random shooting.
Right. Okay, well, this is like saying that vaccines don't cause autism. Remember that? I had a guy on the other.
That's now been proven in court. You realize?
Yeah, the doctors group in Michigan somewhere that treats only unvaccinated children. Not one child in their entire practice, hundreds of them who have not been vaccinated, is autistic.
There you go. That's it, folks. Think about that. Now, here's the only real problem. Well, I guess we'll have to discuss this when we get back.
Yeah, hang on, Jim. We got to pause. We'll come right back with Jim Mars in just a couple.
Peace, Lord.
Jim, there was a very big development today, which I don't know how much coverage it's going to get beside the obligatory first wave. I think it'll disappear very quickly. Charles Freeman, who was nominated by Dennis Blair to become the chairman of the National Intelligence Council, withdrew. You saw that?
No,
he withdrew. Now, this man went to the National War College, and Terry Arnold, our former State Department high-ranking official, who was the director of the National War College, counterterrorism and so forth, said Charles Freeman was one of his students and a brilliant one. Terry will be on next week to talk about this, by the way. So Freeman withdraws, and he just said things that no high-ranking government official or would-be government official has really ever said so clearly before. This is very important. I want to read this to you, Jim, because this again is backing up what I've been trying to do for the last 12, 13, 14 years, and that's to tell people we are in the hands of a very powerful elite, all right, that do not represent the interests of you or I or of all our listeners out there. All right, here's the letter from Charles Freeman. This was published far and wide. I've got it at Rense.com with the top featured story. He says, you will, and I did this earlier in the program, folks, but it's worth doing twice. You will by now have seen the statement by Director of National Intelligence Dennis Blair reporting that I have withdrawn my previous acceptance of his invitation to chair the National Intelligence Council. This is a top intelligence job in the country. I have concluded that the barrage of libelous distortions of my record would not cease upon my entry into office. The effort to smear me and to destroy my credibility would instead continue. I do not believe the National Intelligence Council could function effectively with its chairman under constant attack by unscrupulous people with a passionate attachment to the views of a political faction in a foreign country. I agreed to chair the NIC to strengthen it and to protect it against politicization, not to introduce it to efforts by a special interest group to assert control over it through a protracted political campaign. I'm going to skip ahead 2 graphs. The libels on me and their easily traceable email trails show conclusively that there is a powerful lobby determined to prevent any view other than its own from being aired, still less to factor in American understanding of trends and events in the Middle East. The attacks and the tactics of the Israel lobby plumb the depths of dishonor and indecency and include character assassination, selective misquotation, the willful distortion of the record, the fabrication of falsehoods, and an utter disregard for the truth. The aim of this Israeli lobby is control of the policy process through the exercise of a veto over the appointment of people who dispute the wisdom of its views, the substitution of political correctness for analysis, and the exclusion of any and all options for decision by Americans and our government other than those it favors.
Pretty plain talk.
No one, to my recollection at this level, has ever called a spade a spade. Folks, it's time we tell it like it is. We are under the sway, influence, and power of a foreign government to a very large degree. My United States Air Force white paper contends unequivocally that the Israeli government has engaged through, as a proxy of the City of London bankers, thermonuclear blackmail of the United States and its foreign policy for decades. We are under the control of the Zionist Jewish cabal, the Zionist Jewish state of Israel, and the Zionist Jewish money infrastructure that has totally taken control of this country. There is no question about it. This has nothing whatsoever to do with anti-Semitism. Don't even go there. This is a group of people who are secular, not religious, whose goal is subjugation and domination of the world. It is a small portion, a small percentage of those 15 million or so who call themselves Jewish on the planet. Out of 6.5 billion, think of the power. Think of the life and death control they hold over so many people. Think of World War I. Think of World War II, financed by these people, both sides. Yes. Think of the Cold War. Think of where we are now. Think of the financial catastrophe. This is being engineered by a group that is absolutely beyond ruthless and evil. And I urge all of you, and Jim, if you haven't read the essay, the first time I heard of Barack, I had the man on the program last night. You must hear hour 3 of last night. I'm going to probably rerun it. You've got to go read the essay. It's in the Eye on Obama box. There is no question in my mind that the man was telling the truth. That in 1992, he was told by a Soviet apparatchik, a Soviet Union communist woman, she's probably KGB as well, back then, that you would soon have a black American president, educated in California, who lived in Washington and Hawaii, Ivy League school, and who now lives in Chicago. This is 1992. Okay? You know about control. You've written about it for years. We've talked about it for years on this program. It is real. It is absolutely incontestable at this point. Be right back with Jim Marrs.